Las Fierbinți has always been a mirror reflecting the small absurdities and quiet tragedies of rural Romania. But Mafia din Urziceni takes that reflection and fractures it into a kaleidoscope of satire, menace, and deeply human longing. The episode begins with a deceptively simple setup. Rumors swirl that a local branch of the Urziceni Mafia is expanding into Fierbinți. The residents, whose lives usually revolve around gossip, small debts, and bottles of țuică, suddenly find themselves living in a collective fever dream of imagined criminality. What fascinates me most is how the episode never really confirms whether the Mafia even exists. Instead, the story functions as a psychological test of the villagers' morality, cowardice, and desperation for significance in a world that has long forgotten them. The first scene, in which Bobița and Gianni overhear a conversation at the bar about a man from Urziceni with a black Audi, sets the tone perfectly. The dialogue is filled with misinterpretation, overreaction, and half-truths that escalate through the village like wildfire. Director Dragoș Buliga uses long, unbroken shots of dusty streets and half-collapsed fences to evoke both comedy and claustrophobia. The camera lingers on faces, sweaty, suspicious, hopeful, and in that lingering, the audience sees not just humor, but a subtle sense of decay. It's not merely a comedy about small-town chaos. It's a meditation on the erosion of trust and the fragility of identity in post-transition Romania. As the rumor spreads, each character reacts according to their archetype. Ardiles sees an opportunity to make quick money by pretending to have connections. Giannina's salon becomes a hub for paranoid speculation. Celentano, always drunk yet strangely perceptive, warns everyone that evil doesn't come in black cars, it comes wearing your friend's smile. That line, tossed off like a joke, is one of the episode's moral anchors. It implies that corruption and fear don't need gangsters to thrive. They can bloom in the minds of ordinary people who start to believe their own illusions. Visually, the episode thrives on contrasts. The cinematography alternates between warm, sunburned tones of day and the blue-tinged unease of night scenes, where shadows stretch across the familiar streets of Fierbinți like foreign invaders. The director plays with this duality, the external threat and the internal rot, to perfection. In one particularly memorable scene, Firisel hides behind his house, clutching a pitchfork, convinced that the Mafia will come for his borrowed bicycle. The absurdity of the situation becomes an indictment of rural paranoia, but it also speaks to a universal human fear, the belief that something powerful and unseen is always coming to take away what little we have. From a thematic standpoint, Mafia din Urziceni is not about organized crime at all. It's about the illusion of power in powerless communities. The Mafia, whether real or imagined, symbolizes the unreachable world outside Fierbinți. The urban corruption, the systemic injustice, the invisible networks that decide who gets rich and who stays poor. For the villagers, gossiping about the Mafia gives meaning to their stagnation. It allows them to imagine that their misfortunes are not random, but orchestrated by powerful men in suits. It's a comforting fantasy, even if it leads to hysteria. There's an extraordinary moment near the episode's climax when the so-called Mafia car returns. The villagers gather, trembling, ready to defend their homes. But when the door opens, it's just a delivery driver from Urziceni, bringing boxes of beer. The laughter that follows is awkward, forced, and strangely melancholic. The tension dissolves, but something deeper lingers. The realization that their fears were self-created, that their unity was built on delusion. The scene plays almost like a metaphor for Romanian society's relationship with authority and conspiracy. We invent demons to give our chaos structure. As a film analyst, I find that what makes Mafia din Urziceni exceptional is its tonal precision. It oscillates between farce and realism without collapsing into parody. The script captures the texture of spoken Romanian, the rhythms of complaint, the poetry of vulgarity, and translates them into a cinematic language that feels both authentic and universal. In many ways, it echoes the works of Italian neorealism, but filtered through Balkan humor and post-communist melancholy. On a personal note, watching this episode reminded me of my own small town in Eastern Europe, where rumors could destroy reputations faster than any real crime. There's a scene where Dorel, terrified, locks himself inside his house and nails the door shut. His wife yells from outside, "You're protecting yourself from your own shadow." That line pierced me because it encapsulates something essential about human psychology. When people feel powerless, they invent enemies to justify their fear. In its final moments, the episode offers no resolution. Life returns to normal. The villagers go back to drinking, complaining, and laughing. Yet something subtle has shifted. They have glimpsed, for a moment, their own vulnerability, and perhaps their own complicity in creating the myths that enslave them. Mafia din Urziceni stands as one of the finest examples of Las Fierbinți's ability to transform provincial comedy into social allegory. It's a brilliant dance between laughter and despair, reminding us that sometimes the most dangerous mafia lives not in cities, but inside our collective imagination.